stories making the headlines in Nigerian newspapers. I have with me in the studio leadership and communication strategist Dotun Ojo and political technocrat Dr. Dayo Kayode. Good morning. It's good to see you, gentlemen.
Good morning.
It's a new week.
Yeah,
good to see you, Veronica. But you see, something happened over the weekend, 30 seconds, that I want our leaders to learn from, that it's better for us to be deterministic rather than be materialistic.
Interesting.
Yeah, as regards one election that came up over the weekend between the HSC 1978 to 81 session of the Christ School.
All right.
I was made one of the members of the Electoral Commission.
Okay.
But I was determined that this thing must go on nicely.
Smoothly.
Could you see how a lot of people comported themselves? Conan and all that. So our leaders should just
learn from that.
All
right, let's get back to the dailies this morning. I know that you are itching to talk, but we'll get somewhere. We'll look at a topic that you can bring that in. All right, quickly. Let's go to the newspaper headlines this morning, and I begin with the Daily Times. Return to ancestral lands, gloom, uncertainty stare at IDPs. And federal government, UN, NGOs, $6.4 billion on welfare of IDPs in 4 years. What we are doing to ensure safe return to IDPs to ancestral lands. Federal government stakeholders suggest measures to curb flow, return peace to troubled areas. And on the front page of the Daily Trust, kidney failure ravages Yobe, Jigawa communities. Experts battle to unravel causes. And on the front page of News Direct, Edo 2020, thugs attack Oshomole, Obaseki's COS, aides deny attack. All right, and finally on the front page of the blueprint, APC to PDP cop other parties, you failed in your responsibilities. Stop distracting governments, governing party. Our democracy deserves better. That's the response there from other parties. But gentlemen, let's look at the story on the front page of the blueprint quickly. Our democracy deserves better. It is, if you recall that the last election, we had about over 90 parties registered. And yet it has been said that there is no thriving opposition to challenge the ruling party. And there is the fear that Nigeria is becoming a one-party state. I wonder how this comes to you, Dotun. Let me start with Dotun.
There's no cause for alarm. It's not a new tradition. Everybody wants to belong to the party in power, and that's why when you see if any political party wins election, people from the other political parties will rush to because there's no law actually restraining people from joining the party in
power. But that's not healthy for democracy.
When you look at it from that angle, then you discover that the problem we have in Nigeria politics is with professional politicians. Professional politicians are the set of politicians who always want to be in power. So if they are in PDP today and if APC wins, they quickly move from PDP to APC. And that's why a lot of people have questioned our ideology as political animals in Nigeria. That, come to think about it, nothing drives us as professional politicians than the fact that at every point in time we want to oil our pocket. So if you look at it from that angle, it's a serious issue. But if you look at it from the angle of the last election, you discover that we are heading somewhere great too. With the crop of politicians, young politicians that actually came up, and they were not afraid to win election. Majority of them went to a non-party. In my state, for example, we saw a young guy who won election into the House of Reps in SDP. Another one won election under ADP. So it shows that with the new crop of politicians who are not afraid to lose election, we've
been practicing democracy for some time now, 20 years, and we're still struggling when it comes to having that vibrant opposition, Dr. Kayode. Why is that so?
Yeah, you see, we're in a kind of mixed situation as we are presently in this country. Look at that last election that Dotun was referring to, that we have young, vibrant people coming up. But all those young, vibrant people coming up, on what pedestal did they build their, in quotes now, manifesto? That is, what kind of philosophy, ideology was driving them. And that is why, to a very large extent, you find out that even when some of them planned to merge, don't let me mention names now, they couldn't. That's why the fact that they were seemingly saying the same thing. That's why the fact that they seemingly developed from the same root. They couldn't come together. That is to say that virtually all the party we are having now doesn't have a basic ideology upon which they are being built.
Is it that difficult to have?
Unlike other parties. I mean, unlike in those days when we were having UPN, GNPP, PRP, and all that. You could know where the development will tend to if these people comes to power. Now, coming to the issue of not having vibrant opposition, the way it is, you cannot look at what we are having now into what I just said, that even those parties that sprang up to contest election, where are they now? They are fizzled out. They are fizzled out. If not, why not coming together and form a strong opposition? Even look at PDP, that is supposed to be giving APC a run for their power. Where are they? Somebody was alleging a few days ago that even Secondus is genuflecting with APC. Do you understand? I mean, somebody.
You see, I think the problem.
To that extent, if care is not taken, we might be heading towards a one-party state. Coupled with also the fact that so many of those that are supposed to be in the opposition, they have dipped their hands into one or two things that they are not supposed to. And the EFCC is now running after them.
Dotun does not seem to agree with you on that issue.
That's not how we will slide. You can't have a person like me and thousands of other people who want to play in the political arena, and you say we will slide to one-party state. PDP may be dead. The major challenge we have with PDP is the same challenge we have with APC. PDP is not used to the art of opposition. People in PDP have been in power all through their life for 16 years. And that's why when APC got to power, they didn't know what to do. They were seemingly confused. Why? Because majority of them that came together to form APC were not used to the art of national governance.
Dotun is missing something out.
They were used to being in the opposition.
Being in the opposition. So when they came to power, it was a little bit difficult. That's what is worrying PDP now. PDP is not used to
being on the other side.
No.
So what we have to do now is not a product of, would you allow me to make my point? It's not a product of whether some parties will come together or to form opposition. No. We even, in fairness, we even have enough opposition within APC.
But where are they? Their voices are not being heard. That is, their voices are not being heard. That is a challenge.
You see, the art of opposition is not the. Don't let us define the art of opposition using APC as a yardstick. When APC was in the opposition, they come on television, they are on radio, they are in newspaper to castigate every act of government. We must not use that as a yardstick.
What is the yardstick?
Opposition is not always coming to talk and criticize government. It's actually to provide an alternative. And that's what people are positioning.
But how do people get to know you as an alternative when they can't hear you speak?
Well, it's not, you see, it is selling your manifesto. It's not the same thing as criticizing the government in power.
It's not just about criticism.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you may say PDP is not talking, but there are other people who are positioning themselves as an act of opposition.
Dr. Kayode.
Dotun is mixing two issues. That's what we call party by itself. And then we have the actors. Who are the actors in PDP when they were in government? For you saying they are not used to being opposition. Who are the actors in APC when APC as a party was in opposition? So these are two different things entirely. What we have now is politicians who are out not to serve, but to a very large extent feed their pockets, like you said. All right? So until when we have people that are ready to serve, then they will now come up not just coming out to blah blah on the government, but by looking at the policies and then telling them, look, this one is better than this.
All right.
Now, Daily Trust has here, kidney failure ravages Yobe, Jigawa communities. Experts battle to unravel causes. That's in the Daily Trust this morning. The News Direct says, Edo 2020, thugs attack Oshomole Obaseki's COS, aides deny attack. Daily Times says, return to ancestral lands, gloom uncertainty stare at IGPs. The writer says an FG UN NGO $6.4 billion on welfare of IDPs in 4 years. What we're doing to ensure safe return of IDPs to ancestral land, says federal government. Stakeholders suggest measures to curb flow, return peace to troubled areas. We'll move to the blueprint where it says here, APC to PDP, CUPP, other parties, you failed in your responsibilities. Stop distracting government. Governing party says our democracy deserves better. Now we'll move to the Vanguard newspaper. Minimum wage, governors dare labor over strike, says it will be an exercise in futility. And he adds, we can't promise what we don't have, as labor intensifies mobilization for strike. The Daily Sun is saying here, of course, minimum wage war, prepare for total strike. NLC tells Nigerians. That's in the Daily Sun. Advises workers to stockpile food, others. The Nation newspaper, it says, Obaseki behind siege to my home, says Oshomole. Governor, police deny attack as APC Omar Agege seek probe. We'll move to the Guardian newspaper. APC, PDP in fresh fight ahead of Supreme Court's ruling. And the writer says Nigeria tired of despots. Forgers says opposition party, ruling party flays irresponsible, rudderless alliance. Now the This Day newspaper says here, governors to demand state share of federation account in dollars. Fire me, restate opposition to NFIU's directive to bank on joint accounts. All right, we'll take on the story in the Vanguard. It's in the front page, of course, and it's also in the front page of the Daily Sun newspaper this morning. And it says here, minimum wage, that's what we're going to be discussing. Minimum wage, governors dare labor over strike. And it says it will be exercised in futility. And it adds here, we can't promise what we don't have as labor intensifies mobilization for strike. No, gentlemen, this minimum wage saga is still on. And the labor unions are ready for a showdown with the government. What do you say of this?
Okay, I think if you study history very carefully, the only language that government understands and acts on often is the language of strike. From the first strike, and strike all over the times has always been a product of perhaps a failed demand for a better working condition and all that. From the first strike in, I think, 1152 or thereabout in Egypt to the present day, it has always been the same old language of, oh, we want better welfare. But as we have repeatedly said, that the present situation is a little bit wrong on both sides, on the part of government and the part of labor. I think labor, when they were doing their demand computation and meetings, did not come through with the entire figure. What labor was concerned about is, oh, let's just change the minimum wage and let's have 30,000 and let's go to sleep. But the government is now coming to say that what we have now is an effect of minimum wage change and not a review of total salary. And if you have it like that, if you say we are going to effect changes in the salaries of people from grade levels, perhaps 01 to 7, and the ones between 7 and 14, we have some funny calculations here and there. You may not really get a result. So I hope that the government will once again understand this language of strike and do something meaningful.
You see, to me, it is a total insincerity on the part of government. Dotun, before now, the minimum wage labor has always been getting from government. How have they been doing it across board? The moment they agree on one particular thing, it goes down the line like that. There has been a template, and Labour has told them, this is the template. Why are you now saying because that one was not? Because I could remember when they were even talking about 95,000 before.
Yeah.
They were looking at it across board, and they were saying, no, this is how much it's going to cost us before they now arrived at
30,000.
that 30,000. So why are you now dilly-dallying from paying this thing? To me, like you said, the only language that government understands is strike. But now need to warn Labour. Labour need to organize very well, sensitize the people. Know that after a while, after about 2-3 days, they will now say we have to call it off.
Do you want them to go on one more strike?
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, you say the strike should be total.
They should go it all out, because if not, government will be taking them for a ride. Look at it since November. It is appalling. But one particular governor was passing my neighborhood last week. Come and see the retinue of vehicles, including an ambulance. How can a government within a state travel with an ambulance? That is, they believe that they can fall sick any point in time. Now, you are not looking at even kids going to school, falling sick at any point in time. You are not providing all that for them.
You see,
I mean, they should go it all out.
I think totally, I do agree with you. But we need to be a lot careful here, because things are not working the way they are.
Why? Who is not making it to work?
And we can continue to say it's a problem of leadership, and I totally agree. But if we think that 30,000 minimum wage will solve our problem, then we must be joking.
Sure.
In fact, there are
it's
a
beyond
lot of,
that, we know.
When we talk about wages generally, there are a lot of things that have to do with wages apart from even minimum wage.
Sure.
Okay. You can raise this minimum wage of 30,000 and not consider the plight of retirees. So these are some of the things that come all out when you're talking about review of wages. That's why I think it's there's no template. There's no template. The last time, that's how they had all this argument. There's always been argument.
There's been this argument for a very long time. I mean, are we not supposed to understand that at a certain point, there has to be a review of salary?
Yes, of course, it's illegal. It's after 5 years.
And when you are reviewing that salary, must it has to be those people at the minimum wrong? It has to go across.
It's after
so what
for
have you
5
been doing
years.
before now?
It's after for 5 years. That's why I think if you have a government, and it's not a product of, it's not a subject of administration, I think it has become the problem of government in Nigeria. Either it's PDP that is there or APC. So if you have a situation like this, I expect Labour to be more strategic. Even 2 years into the new minimum wage, I expect them to have to have sat down and plan as to this is how much we're actually bringing out and demand as minimum wage, but and do their computation and strategy very well.
Labour came at first and talked about 95,000 naira. Don't you think that that's first step?
No, you see, that even 95,000 naira, it's just I don't want to be repeating myself all over and over. I have already told Labour, they made a mistake from the beginning. Instead of you putting a money tag immediately, all you need to do is demand for a sustainable living standard. Do you understand? When you now look at that, you will now look at it from different areas of the country. Then you will now be putting the money. At the end of the day, you now sum it up. Then they will know that you are doing, I mean, you have already done your own work. So they won't just be saying 30,000. Well, how much is 30,000 for goodness sake? Do you understand? To me,
to you,
yes,
might not be much.
That's what I'm saying. 30,000 naira to any least worker is still small. Considering transportation, housing, feeding, and all that. Living standard now in the country is higher than 30,000.
So what can be done now? Because once this minimum wage is increased, the cost of living, everything in the market increases.
Can you see what Uganda has just? Can you see what Uganda has just done? They're looking at inflation rates to be less than 5% in 2020. So what are we doing? What is the economy team that the president has just put together? What are they doing? So it is these people that are supposed to sit down and then work assiduously to ensure that all these things, like he was saying, there are a lot of things that entails when you're talking about living wage.
Okay.
A lot of things.
Okay, so we're almost out of time, but let's quickly pinpoint on this matter. Social media regulation. On over the weekend, there was a huge hullabaloo about the fact that the president is getting married. It was all over social media. Someone who started that made it go viral, and it's a big question. It calls for the regulation of, for me, it calls for the regulation of social media such that we don't have such situations.
You know, do you call it ulabalu? It's a social media wedding for our president, and interestingly, on the social media too, I attended that wedding.
Okay.
Do you understand?
On a very serious note, I think social media has made lies marketable and truth unbelievable. And I can stake my name and my integrity on the fact that that rumor came from people in power. It didn't start from my village. I'm certain about that. And when you see things like that, you can easily, you may be tempted to believe that, oh, it's from people outside of government. I totally believe that that rumor started
with the cabal.
With the people. I'm not using cabal. I don't know whether there are cabals or not. But with people in government. And there's the need for us, what we believe on social media, I think we need to work on ourselves. True. But again, there may be an element of truth in it.
Yes, based on some insinuations.
All right.
There may be some.
All right, thank you so much, gentlemen, for talking to us on this matters and, of course, issues affecting Nigerians and newspapers. Now, you're watching TVC Breakfast, and we're streaming live on YouTube. Of course, you can connect with us on Twitter using the hashtag TVC Breakfast.